So my next question to you, Luke, is like you talked about people who come to you with insomnia. So how do you help people who are with maybe, yeah. So I agree that everything is a label, but people who come with this label that I have chronic insomnia for more than some X number of years, and how do I heal myself? So what is your answer to this label, which is like chronic insomnia for X number of years, maybe 10 years, 5 years? So what is your answer for this?
So one of the things that most people will come to me when they're suffering from this label called insomnia is they've I'm not the first call. They've gone to the doctor, they've gone to the sleep clinic, they've gone to the counselor, psychotherapist. So they've typically tried hypnotist, change worker. Typically isn't the first person that they call, right? So they've gone through a bunch of stuff. What is everyone else try to do? Oh, try and relax tonight when you go to sleep. Have a warm bath. Listen to some meditation before. Everything is becomes what I call masturbating. Not masturbating, masturbate. Oh, I must sleep tonight. Oh, I must drink the chamomile tea before I go to bed. I must have the Epsom salt bath. Now, this becomes a whole process that fuels the anxiety. So one of the first things I do is I get my clients to identify their masturbating, the must that they put on the life, which on their problem, which just creates more of the problem. And I start to help them eliminate this thing called must. Because here's an example. If I say to you right now, you must relax. Say to yourself out loud, I must relax, and notice what happens.
Yeah, I know that.
What
What
when you
happens?
say that inside, what happens to you?
Yeah, so our brain, actually, my brain is thinking, am I relaxing or not? So if then it says, you idiot, he's saying to relax and you're not relaxing.
Starts to,
So
yeah,
then
starts to become a whole
then
process here. Oh, I must do it, creates more tension. So first thing I do is help people with their masturbating habit. That's the first thing that I do. And the next thing I do is I do the opposite. And if it's safe, and I make sure it's safe for them to do it, and I don't tell my client what to do. I issue them a challenge. Are you up for a challenge? If they say yes, I'm like, you don't have to do this. Understand you don't have to do this. It's a near challenge. If you're up for it, great. If you're not, that's okay. Like, oh, great. Well, what's the challenge? I'm like, I want you to stay up for the next until you can't sleep. That might be a day. That might be 2 days. Obviously, don't be operating heavy machinery and driving around. You want to be in a safe place, right? But I want you not to sleep, and I want you to go as long as you can without sleeping. They're like, look at me like I'm frigging crazy, right? Like, what? Everyone else has told them sleep, do this. No, I'm going to do the opposite. I want you to stay awake for as long as you can. The record I've had was I had a client that went 48, that's 2 days. I think they went 58 hours of staying awake. And my goal was you've got to stay awake for 3 days. Be safe, understand that, but you've got to be awake for at least 3 days. No naps, no micro naps, no closing your eyes for the next 3 days. If it's safe for you to do it, they're like, you up for it? They're like, sure. And the people that do it, and some clients don't, but the people that do it, even people that said, look, I've had chronic anxiety. I haven't had more than 2 hours sleep a night for the last 30 years. I have never had someone go more than 3 days without sleeping. I've even got testimonials on my website. Because the game changes at that point. It's not about relaxing. It's, well, no, I want you to stay up. And I want you to stay up as long as you can. And eventually, the body's like, the hell with this. And it just sleeps, because we all sleep. We all have to sleep at some point. I think you can literally go, well, actually, you can go about a year without eating food if you're very morbidly obese. There's a guy who broke the record over a year, all right? You can go weeks without water. But you can only go a couple of weeks, I think about 10 days, with zero sleep before essentially you get brain cancer. Sleep
yes.
is so important. You have to sleep, otherwise you die. I've never, in 25 years of working with clients, and some of them having insomnia, I've never had a client who chose to take up the challenge, go more than 3 days without sleeping. I had some clients text me and say, Luke, it's day 1.5, and I failed the challenge, Luke. They're upset with me. I failed the challenge. I couldn't do 3 days. I could only do 36 hours, and I slept for 8 hours. First time I've been able to do this in 30 years. Because the game's changed. No, I want you to stay awake. You're staying awake? Great. I want you to stay awake as long as you humanly can. But no sneaky naps, no sneaky meditations that turn into naps. No, I mean, you've got to be awake. And no client ever, if they do it, none of them get past 3 days. And oftentimes, I kid you not, that's not all I do with clients, obviously. But that one little bit just there can self-correct the whole problem, because it turns it upside down, it inverts it. It now makes it a challenge, a fun challenge. Well, I'm just going to stay awake. This is no longer, oh my God, it's beating me. No, I'm going to stay awake. I'm going to stay awake all night. Your body's going to take over, and it's going to have to sleep. I don't care who you are, you're going to have to sleep. So that one little bit, again, I always use a disclaimer, as long as it's safe for you to do. If I offered people one little thing, it would be that thing. Oftentimes can correct the whole thing.
Okay. That's really interesting. Like the way you put it is to create a challenge of not sleeping. And I totally get it. The way you are building it up. So I was reading this. So I guess the CBTI, or the cognitive behavior treatment therapy for insomnia, also talks about this. Maybe some modified version of this, but it talks on the topic of sleep restriction. So yeah, that's an interesting take.